It's a real fake news update, not brought to you by Pfizer. Today, we're going to look at how the mainstream media has been covering Greta Thunberg and the flotilla. We've been covering this flotilla. We showed you guys the 147 vessels that were captured. They were hijacked by Israel, by the IDF, and everybody was taken captive. They started leaving people, letting people go little by little. Greta was obviously the most notable person on the flotilla, but there's other activists. By the way, there's other journalists. They come from 46 countries, actually, that were supporting the flotilla. We got the workers striking right now in Spain and Italy because Israel violated an international law. You cannot intercept these flotillas. They are in international water. They're bringing aid. They're non-combative. They're bringing aid to people starving to death, not just randomly starving. Bad famine. No, we are actively starving them to death. So, little conflict of interest, I guess you would say. And that's why Israel had to do what they had to do. Well, the people on the street, we've covered this on the show. They are sticking it to Israel right now, particularly the dock workers who have striked, and they have the power to strike supply chain, because that's what the dock workers in Italy and Spain, they can stop the supply chain to Israel, which they have done. But let's look at how the mainstream has been covering this. I'm going to start with Fox News because they thought it would be funny to laugh about this situation. And by the way, I will spoiler alert, Greta has been released, and we're going to get to that soon. But let's look at how they have been covering this.
Thunberg's trip to Gaza hasn't been smooth sailing. She's in the Mediterranean Sea tonight, and during her voyage, her pro-Palestinian flotilla was allegedly hijacked by the music of ABBA. The anti-Israel fleet of more than 50 ships claim they have been psychologically attacked after their radios and communication systems were hacked and ABBA's music was blasted on repeat. Okay. She also said that the drones released something that had a chemical smell to it. I just want to say these are unverified reports that her flotilla has been attacked by drones. But let me take it out to the table. What do you guys make of this?
I love this story. Come on, just keep bombarding them with Dancing Queen. I think this is awesome. What are they doing in this part of the world? Like, what's their point?
What is their point? You can't even report on what they're doing. Anybody who's watching this garbage, ask yourself, is this what news looks like? Is this what journalism looks like? Saying to your audience, I don't know what they're doing. What are they up to? Well, you don't have to agree with it, but you can be a little more honest and say why they're there: to bring aid to starving people who we are actively starving. Taxpayer money, by the way, which I know Fox audience really definitely cares about where their tax money is going to, except if it's going to murder people. They just don't want it going to people on food stamps. That's their main thing. Okay. Keep laughing though. That's great journalism, guys.
Other than, I don't know, you're going to have to listen to ABBA. I think it's great. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah. This reminds me of when they used to blast Britney Spears to ward off Somali pirates. That was a tactic. I personally love Britney Spears, so I don't know if that would be a deterrent for someone like me, but for them, apparently, it was. This girl is so ridiculous. I think my favorite thing is when President Trump comments on her, and he says things like, wow, she's kind of miserable, and she needs to go to a movie or do something fun. And when I'm listening to her speak, I'm thinking that exact thing.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because you guys don't have any sense of what's actually going on in the world right now, and the hundreds of thousands of people being starved to death, and who haven't already been murdered, by the way, murdered by weapons that we are funding and we're writing blank checks for. Yeah, no comment on that part of it. Okay, so let's look at what really is going on here. So let's start with the torture part of it, and this has been confirmed that while in captivity by Progressive International, flotilla participants report that Greta Thunberg was dragged by her hair, beaten, and forced to kiss the Israeli flag as a warning to others. This news comes amid reports of other disturbing incidents of violent humiliation of flotilla members. Now, of course, Israel denies this right away. They say they're just making this up, of course. However, and this is according to the Credo, so minutes after the Israeli Foreign Ministry denied the allegations that she was mistreated, the National Security Minister says, I am proud that the flotilla activists are being treated as terrorists. This is my policy. I'm proud of the prison staff acting in accordance with the policy set by Commissioner Kobi Yacobi and myself. I was on their ships. I saw neither aid nor humanity. Okay, now that's also those are lies. We'll get to that soon. Of course, there was aid on the ships. Anybody reporting otherwise is just falling for very simple, not even with no effort, propaganda that's so sloppy because they told you you're going to believe it. Got it. That which makes no sense, by the way. Which makes no sense. The bottom, anyone who supports terrorism is a terrorist and deserves the same conditions applied to terrorists. So they're saying the quiet part out loud after the denial. Of course. All right. Well, let's hear Greta herself. This is speaking to a crowd in Athens just after her release. Here we go.
Genocide going on in front of our very eyes, and live streamed genocide on all of our phones. No one has the privilege to say we are not aware of what's happening. No one in the future will be able to say we did not know. And I could talk for a very, very long time about our mistreatment and abuses in our imprisonment, trust me, but that is not the story. What happened here was that Israel, while continuing to worsen and escalate their genocide and mass destruction with genocidal intent, attempting to erase an entire population, an entire nation in front of our very eyes, they once again violated international law by preventing humanitarian aid from getting into Gaza while people are being starved. We need an end to the siege. We need an end to the occupation and the oppression. And I also... No, not heroes. No, we are doing the bare minimum. And this is a last resort. That this mission has to exist, it's a shame. It is a shame.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to say this. She's gotten much better at speaking since the first time. This isn't the first time she's been captured. There's been several flotillas. She was on I believe the first one a few months back. There was a second one she did not go on. We saw activist Christian Smalls. He was captured the second time. He was beaten and tortured. So there is a timeline of this, and the more time that goes on, you can see her getting better at how she speaks about her experience. Although she is probably one of the most humble people you can imagine, that she's saying, no, we're not doing it. We're not heroes here. And the story's not about us. So when she was released, here's how that worked out. So this is the 171 activists that were deported from Israel to Greece and Slovakia, including Greta Thunberg, who was assaulted, forced to kiss the Israeli flag, denied food, water, and sleep. So she doesn't talk about that part. She talks about the greater part of this, which is not really about her. But this is reported by all of the people with her. And there's journalists that are with her. These are not just people looking. These aren't just like influencers looking for clicks. These are actual journalists and some political representatives, some state representatives from 46 countries. And they all corroborate the story that it was a filthy insect-infested cell. This is exactly the way they treat Palestinians because what did they say? They're being treated like terrorists. That's what's happening. And this was actually released by Israel's MFA before the deportation. So this is her being released. You saw her speech there. Here's some reactions. By the way, I said there were some other activists, other people who actually have not been released yet, like Yvonne Ridley and Nelson Mandela's grandson are still in captivity, by the way. So we don't have record on that, but you're not going to get any of that reported on mainstream. Friend of the show, Revolutionary Blackout, Nick Cruz says Greta could have easily just coasted and lived an amazing lifestyle, feeding liberals useless platitudes, but this is what she chose instead. This deserves massive respect. People need to admit they were wrong about Greta. And another friend of the show, Wyatt Reed, he says it's been 3 days since Israel dragged Greta Thunberg by her hair into bedbug-infested cell and photographed against her will in an Israeli flag. And not one of these politicians has made a peep. And this is, again, this is who she used to be. She was elevated by the mainstream. And these are the people that were around her, Obama, Trudeau. They're not going to say a word about this right now. They have nothing to say. And we know why. We know why. Okay, so look, Trump decided to get in on the mix. So let's see. And none of these reporters none of these reporters standing next to Trump are going to have anything of any moral compass of, hey, Trump, you're missing the story. They're just going to let him say whatever the hell he wants. When they ask about Greta, watch his reaction.
A follow-up question on Israel. Israel government has been arresting and reporting activists that were traveling to Gaza. Today, Greta Thunberg, for instance, also some...
Well, she's just a troublemaker, I mean, she's no longer into the environment, now she's into this. She's a troublemaker. She has an anger management problem. I think she should see a doctor. She needs anger. If you ever watch her, she's a young person. She's so angry. She's so crazy. Now you can have her. She's just a troublemaker.
Yeah, she's a troublemaker going into the getting hijacked and taken hostage, treated like, as they told us, treated like they treat Palestinian prisoners without due process, throw them in a cell, whatever they do, torturing, humiliation, ritual stuff. Yeah, she's just got anger management problems. Nobody's standing there. You guys saw them standing there. Look at these fools. Look at these fools. They're nervous to be in the room. They don't want Trump to pick on them. Oh, don't pick on me. And that's the press room now. That's what the press room looks like now. A bunch of scared, just fearful, small careerists that have nothing to say when Trump makes a comment like this with no regard to what's actually going on. This is not about Greta, and she said it herself. This isn't about her. Okay, so now, of course, I don't know how Greta had a chance to tweet this out or somebody wrote it for her, but this was pretty cool. She said, I heard Donald Trump once again has expressed his very flattering opinions on my character, and I appreciate his concerns for my mental health. To Trump, I would kindly receive any recommendations you might have to deal with these so-called anger management problems. It says, judging by your impressive track record, you seem to be suffering from them too. A pretty witty response. But the bottom line is, guys, the mainstream's not going to give you anything about this. And the few headlines you see that are telling you Greta's been released, she's come back, Israel released her. Always watch for the language. How are they talking about it? They're not talking about Israel committing international crimes. They're not talking about that part. They're not using verbiage like kidnapped and held hostage and tortured. They're not. They're saying released, and a crowd welcomed her back in Athens. Oh, job well done. The job's not even over. The job, what she did, was get more people to pay attention to what's going on and watch more of the psyop and the propaganda coming from Israel, where they lie in English and then they tell the truth in Hebrew. They do this every single time. And if you guys heard anything about this aid that wasn't on the boats, again, I will double down and assure you that is, again, Israeli propaganda. They tell you, we inspected and there's no aid. That makes no sense. They've stolen aid before. They steal aid all the time. Why would they show pictures of the flotilla vessels with the aid on them? Why not take the aid off, steal it, which they do. That's what they steal the aid. Then tell us, oh, look, they're empty. So don't fall for that shit either. Don't fall for when they're laughing and making fun of this girl. She used to be a mouthpiece of the establishment. And like Wyatt Reed said earlier, that establishment is dead silent right now. So that's something to take a look at. And that's been a real fake news update. Not brought to you by Pfizer.